Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Emilia Kasi, and I'm going to be your instructor for this session. We are going to learn the 4 ways to save plots in R. As you can see on my desktop, I already created a folder, and within that folder, I also created subfolders because I really respect that you order how you save your files in when using or coding in R. So I also have another subfolder of plots, and then this is my saved R code. So we are going to start. The first thing you want to do is to get in your data, and you can do it by manually typing in your data or using the read.csv function to get the data into the console. So this is the data we are going to use, and I'm going to run this. Okay, so we have our car data already run, and the data.frame simply add the speed and the density data and create it, make it just one. And one other way that you can save the data is by using the write.csv. So we would first tell R that we want to save the file into the data subfolder. So we run this. I can just clean this one. Yep. And then use the write.csv to run it. So when you go into your files pane, which is in this area, when you click on the data, you will see the car file, the car start file created as a .csv file. So another way you can simply get in your data is to just use the read.csv function to get in the data into what you have. So we just did that. I think this is important also because you don't always want to go through the pain of having to type your data every time. So this works pretty well. The first step we are going to use to save the plot is by creating an if statement. And this works very well on its own. And also if you are going to do a chunk of coding in a loop form that you just want to use the if statement to make things run on its own, it is also a good choice to use to save the files you create. So we tell R that we want it to see the folder or the directory name as the plot, which is what we have in our files section. And then we are telling R that if the name of this folder exists, then it should set it as our directory. And then in that folder, it should save the file by this name, which is linear if save. And the .pdf simply refers to the fact that we want the file to appear as a PDF file. So you can also use .jpeg or .png. That is the other options you can use. I usually like the .pdf because you get a very better resolution. That is my preference. But you can also use .jpeg or .png. So, and then we don't want to separate the naming by anything, but you can just put this here. If you want to separate it by a dot, you can do it. By dash, you can do it. But we wouldn't want to separate the file name by anything. And we are telling R that if these first ones have been fulfilled, then it should try to plot density against speed, deriving this information from the car data, which is the data we already asked R to read into our console. And then it should label the x-axis as this and label the y-axis as that. And then when it's done, it should just close it off. So we are going to run this. Okay. Yay, that worked. So we didn't get any errors from that, which means that the code worked out perfectly well. After doing this, you should see the file in your plots subfolder. And this is what we have here. So we have the linear if save PDF. And this is the plots that it created. And you have it as a PDF file, which is very good. So this is the first option. The second option is to use a ggplot function to create the plot, and also use a ggsave function to save the plot. And if you want to use a ggplot function, you have to make sure that you have already installed the ggplot2 package and read it or called it from the library. So I have it already installed, so I wouldn't install it again. I'm just going to call it from the library, and you do that by this function, the library function, and then you put in the package. So we want to save the plots that we are going to create with a ggplot function as a linear ggplot file, linear ggplot, the name. And then in that, we wanted to derive the data from the car.data and set the speed to be our x variable, the y to be our y variable, and then we wanted to point out the x and y numbers. And with that, we want the size to appear as just 2, like so very little, not big, and that can also vary. And use the GeoSmooth, which makes it appear as a linear model. It has a linear model to it. If you get or go through a linear regression tutorial, that will be a good function to add to it. And the theme classic removes the grid lines and just give you a very clear graph to use, especially if you are going to post that in a scientific paper or any official document. You don't want to have your grid lines showing. So with the labs, we want to label our x-axis as speed, this, and label the y-axis as density. That the unit is what I've kept in the bracket here. So we are going to run this. And if that works, when you just run the linear ggplot function, you should see the plot appear in the files pane column. And then if you want to save this into the plot file, which is still here, we can use this function, the PDF, and we are saying that it should save the file into the plots subfolder and then label it as a linear print.pdf. And I wrote here that other options that you can use is the JPEG and the PNG. After this, you wanted to print it as a linear ggplot, print the linear ggplot, which you have already, and then close it. So we are going to do that to see. Open the plot, and we have it also printed. And this is our second plotted file using the print function. The other way is to use the ggsave. Let me make it like this so that you can see the whole coding. So with the ggsave, you can use the file name, and you are telling R that you want to name it as a linear ggsave and have it as a PDF. And it should go into the plots subfolder. So the path is path, telling R that you wanted to go through that path, which is saving it into your plot subfolder. You call the name of the file, and then you can also add specifications like the width, the height, that is how long or wide you want the file to appear, the saved file to appear. So we are going to run this as well. And this also saved the file as a linear GG save PDF, and it should be approximately the same. Very clear, nice. The last command that you can use in saving your plots in R is to first select the plot in the files pane section. This is like the manual one, which doesn't require you to do any coding. So when you go to your files pane section, you just select or click on plot, and then you click on the export. You choose either of these options, either to save it as an image or save it as a PDF. I already said my preference is PDF, so I'll just go to the PDF, and it asks you which directory to save what you have here. So I'm going to choose the plots directory because I want every plot to go into the plot subfolder, and I will name it as manual saved plot. And click on save. So when you go back to the plots, you should see the manual saved plot to here, and here you go. This is that one too. It gives you your plot very nice and clean. So that would bring us to the end of this section. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot from it. Stay tuned for more videos. Bye.